dreadlocks.
This is take two, by the way. This is the second time I'm doing this interview.
So this is Mr. Gideon Kimanzi.
Good evening, viewers.
He has a cold, so you need to watch this with a mask. A good friend of mine, known him for many years, a producer, a musician. He plays the bass guitar. He plays games on his phone.
Lies.
But he's a musician, a producer,
No, I'm just a
family man,
Yes.
married to a beautiful girl called Alice.
Yes.
One wife, he
Yes.
clarifies.
Yes.
And her name is Alice. And so today he's hosting us at his house. You have a very interesting work ethic that I admire. It's more like you want something done almost by yesterday. So why is that? Like, what's the thinking behind that?
What happens is, many times the things that we want, unless we are trying to farm, everyone likes instant results. One, the end user, the mwenye kazi, always wants their work as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And two, me, I want it out of my space as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. That frees me to jump onto the next project and thing without I hate debt. Mm-hmm. So knowing that I have your project pending here, and then I'm jumping on a new project because new project means there's a new deposit, that doesn't work out well with me. So I try to have it at the end of the production line as soon as possible.
And how do you balance between, because you can do something real quick,
Yes.
and you compromise the quality.
Yes.
But for you it's different.
It's very easy. Mm-hmm. It's called there's no downtime.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't have client work, I'm working. I'm not working on something necessary to put out, but I'm working on my craft. So I'm getting these things are called tutorials, learning tricks and hacks and shortcuts to get me to the destination I'd like to get to in the shortest time possible. So in that way, you get to, over time, again, nothing happens. I'm working on my workflow. So that once I meet an artist, I tell me, mi niko na ngoma inakaa hivyo. Always I start with a long interview where we just talk. I get to find out what kind of person you are, what your influences are, what you'd like to do. I practice before I meet the work. So many call them mock-ups, so that I know this is where I want to land, and always trying to listen to guys, known greats who've gone there and done crazy things. So I try and spar with them, try to say, okay, how do I get there? And it becomes a habit. Then once it's habitual, you reflex muscles kick in, and you're doing it reflexively, because you have Mwakenya at the back of your head that you're comparing what you're doing with. And many times, not always, it ends up well.
Hello.
Hapo nakata hapo nywa.
But the Mwakenya is a cheat. So people who had a certain history with exams know what Mwakenyas are. So anyway, it's a school. You worked at a studio, a well-known studio,
Yes.
for a couple of years, for many years.
Yes.
And part of the reputation of that studio is the quick turnaround. Did that play a role in?
That did quite. What he's trying to avoid saying is, there's a street in Nairobi called River Road, and there are quite a number of studios that are based on River Road, whereby for a very long time, I think some places still is the practice. You have what you call straight recording. Straight recording is from the instruments, from the band and the singers, straight into
Tape.
It's called DAT. DAT. Digital audio tape. It's a small tape like this.
Yeah.
So there, you have your act together. You have it tight. No, the studio I worked in did not advocate for that. But though, since it was a business, for those who wanted to do that, the option was there. So being the engineer there, I had to learn how to, on the fly, get a mix right. And unlike a live event or a service, whereby after it's done, it's gone forever.
Right.
This it's on record forever.
So your name is.
And yeah, so you can't
on it.
you can't tweak the mix after the fact. It happens real time.
Of course, you worked for the legend, the Kasangas, the legends, Kenyan legends.
Yes.
And how was that? How was that in terms of making the Gideon Kimanzi that we know today, both as a producer, as an engineer, and also as a man? Effects by myself.
That was pretty formative because a lot of what I look for in mixes I learned from him. He's not an engineer, but he has the ear. That's one thing that, so understanding his take, his approach towards what he'd like to hear, because he'd been doing productions from before I was born. His ear had gotten accustomed to harmonies and sound in general. So me using his ears, or him using my ability to move faders, and that was very formative in my opinions on what harmonies should look like, what their balance should be, what placements of instruments in the mix should be, at least for easier for you. So based off of that, I'm learning, because he's my boss, he's the one who's paying my they're not checks, but yes, he's the one who's paying my Saturday. Saturday. Yeah. Getting him to sign off on a mix was the end.
Right.
Because the clients trusted him and his judgment. So once you have him sign off on a mix, it's good to go. So learning, okay, this is what he likes, this is what he doesn't like, this will cause him to be like, this one will be like, yeah. So over time, it became easier and easier and easier, until there are times you just, go mix, let me hear the final product.
Right.
So our engagement was almost purely professional.
Right.
There was no time at, guy, come, let's go for lunch and just hang out. Never happened.
And was there value in that? Was there
in what?
In that kind of like strictly professional relationship?
No, that is how, watu walikuja Nairobi kufanya kazi, hatukuja kutengeneza marafiki. I signed up for a job, so I was not expecting let's sit down and talk about life.
Right.
For that, I had pastors and friends who, when I hit a snag, they would walk me through it and pray me through it. So that was sorted. For this, I needed the space to exercise my gift, to sharpen and shape the professional side of me.
There's still value in that, because maybe there's like you say, there's a work ethic that you have to pick up.
Pretty much.
Yeah. A lot of people know you to be a producer, especially in the gospel music scene, right?
Yes.
Is that out of choice, that if you're a producer, you can produce for anyone as long as they're paying the bills?
Yes.
And I'm sure there's, to some extent, that's true for you.
My faith informs everything I do. So based on my faith, I made the decision from the onset that every work I do should be works that are affirmative to my faith. And if they're not affirmative to my faith, it's positive vibes.
Got you.
But I leaned more towards faith-based music. I have worked with non-Christian musicians.
Right.
I so much have. Not a lot. But for every work that we put out, is work that I would put my pastor on my right and I'd put my parents on my left and hold them and they are like listening.
Listen to this.
And they won't be like, you are haikwazi. Kazi itafanyika. So after content is nini, how it sounds like.
How have you managed to earn a living as a producer in the arts all these years?
Well, it's really God who has kept us.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say that I'm an exception to a rule of it's all by God's grace.
Are there decisions you've made, practical decisions about money and lifestyle you've made that have allowed you guys to live the life that you're living now?
Yes. One, don't believe in showbiz. You don't have to flaunt it. Live the life that people look at thinking, wow, you guy, you have the life I want. Where I live, by choice, there are offers. So you move to a place that is more, the place is more central and it's bigger and better, but what does it look like from a bottom line? Because in the ads, kuna siku mtaangaliana hivi. So come mnaangaliana and you have rent for 45. I saw an advert for rent for 45,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment in Nairobi. The people who, for them that works, and it's manageable and it's comfortable. Our pastor was teaching that if you're living on over 60% of your income, you're living beyond your means. Because many times, especially in arts, I've seen guys who you're broke and then you get a gig. It pays you. And then the life you're living for the weeks that follow after that gig. So living within your means, and art being what it is, where we are not on salo, you try and project. Even when you have a gig and you make some, don't play it like there's no tomorrow. Okay, fine. Should I not get another gig for another 2-3 months? Secure rent, secure basic food so that you're not starving. So living a temperate life, modest life.
One more question before you run out.
Yes.
You are a married man.
Very happy.
Happily married.
Yes.